Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KFI's PDF. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with for emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a TL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echo Link are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echo Link node 37247. Its topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list, and remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration and space history, Was Up and Constellation of the Week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I will turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you will do the check-in honors, please.
Thank you, Ms. Billy, and this is KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom. I'll be your alternate net control this evening and handling check-ins. So we're going to start with low-power and short-time check-ins. If you are one of those, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name and where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low-power or short-time.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec, Alpha, Ron, Dallas, short time.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, 2 watts.
Kilo India 5, India X-Ray Mike, Kelly, Fort Worth, low power, HT. Kilo Bravo 5, India, Mark in Dallas, low power.
Alright, let me go ahead and get those folks checked in. I've got N5SQA, Ron in Dallas, short time, W5GUS, Gus in far northeast Dallas. He's 2 watts, that's low power. KI5IXM, that's Kelly in Fort Worth, low power. KB5 Triple I, Mark, low power. Welcome back, Mark. Anyone else, low power, short time? All right, I'll go ahead and ask. Low power short time folks, do you have anything for the net you want to bring right now? Please come with your call sign. All right, let's go ahead and go to general check-ins. That will be just about everybody else. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name and where you're transmitting from.
This is November 5 Bravo Bravo. Bill in Irving.
Here is November 5 Lima X-Ray India, Joel, Juliet Oscar Echo Lima in Lake Highlands.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch. Kilo Foxtrot 5 Tango Sierra Kilo, Burl in Dallas. Alpha Foxtrot 5 Tango X-Ray, BJ, Crandall.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto. Hotel, Melissa in Dallas.
Alpha Golf 5 Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall. This is Kilo Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Alright, there's a pause in the action. Let me go ahead and get those check-ins. I've got N5BV, Bill in Irving, N5LXI, Joel, Lake Highlands, K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan, K5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch, K5TSK, Burl in Dallas, AF5TX, BJ in Crandall, WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto, KI5GRH, Miss Melissa, Dallas, AG5PM, Rich in K5W Victor Lima, that's James in Carrollton. Additional check-ins, please come out.
K5 JSB, Jim. Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa, Allen in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5 Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Alright, got 3 more. I've got K5JSB, that's Jim. Jim, can you give me your QTH? Where are you transmitting from tonight?
I'm mobile, I think I'm somewhere, I'm on the Sam Rayburn Tollway. I think I'm somewhere close to the end near McKinney.
All right, Jim. Well, welcome to the net. You're new to the net. If you have anything you want to bring, just give a break, and we'll bring you on because you're probably going to be short time as well. I got K5ANP, that's Alan in Dallas. I got KG5PPL, that's Patrick in Dallas. Additional check-ins, please come now.
Recheck, this is Inside BB. Did you get me?
I do have you position 7, N5BB, Bill. So I'm sorry if I missed you. You were right at the break from the first group that checked in, so maybe I missed you. Sorry about that. All right, I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name and where you're transmitting from. Okie dokie, let me go over to Echolink. Echolink, check-ins. If you'd like to join us, I will give you extra time. Please come with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from. Echolink only, please.
E0, Mike Bravo Charlie, Shane, and
Bethany Brisbane.
Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J. Now Weatherford.
India 5, Bravo November Papa, Luis in Fort Worth.
Low 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
All right, let me get everybody checked in here. I've got W0MBC, that's Bethany and Sean. And I didn't write down from where, but I know you guys are from far, far away. I've got you checked in. KI5BZW, that's Jay near Weatherford. KI5BNP, that's Luis in Fort Worth. K5JDW, John in his summer home over in Norman, Oklahoma. Let's see, anyone else? I don't see anyone else on Echolink. We can check all the other sources. I don't see any other names anywhere. I'll open it up to anyone who would like to join us this evening. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting. Any mode.
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Mike Romeo, Marcia in Dallas.
All right, got one more. Marcia, KG5OMR over in Dallas. I have you checked in. All right, we're up to 24 check-ins. I'm going to send it back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Copy that. The 24. So Shane and Bethany, I believe, are in Blue Springs, Missouri. So if you want to add that to their QTH, thank you very much. And welcome to all who have checked into Skynet. All right, let's go ahead and get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have an announcement, please come now with your call sign.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
Five BB. Bill, good evening. What announcement do you have for us this evening?
So I sent today's news about Rain Carpenter, Scott Carpenter's wife, passing away at age 92, to Tom earlier and some other members. I don't know if that was going to be covered separately. If it is not going to be covered separately in the net, I could discuss it now. She was the last of the Mercury astronauts and wives inside BB.
I don't see it anywhere else in the script, Bill. I was trying to look through and see. I'm just looking briefly to see if it was under space history. I didn't see it under anything else. So if you want to go ahead and give some information on that, I don't think you'll be stepping in anybody else's territory. So why don't you go ahead and give us some information and about Reen Carpenter. So I saw your announcement, so thank you for sending that out. So yeah, go ahead and give us a little bit more information, Bill, if you'd like. This is KF5TDS to N5BB.
Very good, Brenda. This is Billy. Get the right person here, Billy. This is Inside BB. So yesterday, Rain Carpenter, she pronounced her name Reen, like an Irene, spelled R-E-N-E, without an I. So Reen Carpenter, the last surviving member of the Mercury 7 astronauts and their wives, whom Tom Wolfe immortalized in the 1979 book The Right Stuff. She died on Friday in Denver. She was 92 years old. Her daughter, Chris Stover, said the cause was congestive heart failure. By the way, I'm reading from the New York Times. She retained that surname even though she was divorced and remarried. She was originally the wife of Scott Carpenter, one of the original Project Mercury astronauts. And there were 14 men and women, the astronauts and wives, who were lionized at the time when the U.S. was trying to catch the Soviet Union in the space race. Ms. Carpenter became the last living member of the group with the death of Annie Glenn, the wife of astronaut John Glenn, in May at the age of 100. Perhaps more than any of the 7 wives, Ms. Carpenter broke the NASA mold, emerging with her own identity. On photo shoots, when the women were told to wear solid pastel dresses, Ms. Carpenter, a striking platinum blonde, showed up in a sleeveless red floral pattern. People magazine called her the undisputed prom queen of the early space program. But she wasn't just a pretty face or anything. It was actually Ms. Carpenter who signed up her husband, Scott Carpenter, for Project Mercury. He had made it through the initial phases of the qualification when a letter arrived while he was out of town. Ms. Carpenter opened it. The letter said that if he wanted to proceed to the next phase and enter the physical trials, he needed to respond immediately. Without checking with him first, she called the number and declared, "We volunteer." Ms. Carpenter immersed herself in NASA history and acquired a firm grasp of the science as well as the personalities involved. She was keenly alert to everything going on in the space program, from its orbital mechanics to its rivalries. So Tom Wolfe evidently got much of the best material for the right stuff from Rain Carpenter. Jackie Kennedy was so taken with her that they spent part of an afternoon together at the White House reciting Edna St. Vincent Millay poems. Anyway, the last quote here is from Christopher Kraft. So Chris Kraft was the director of NASA flight operations for many years. So here's what Chris Kraft said about Rain Carpenter. When somebody described to him that they knew her, Chris Kraft said he lit up with delight and admiration, exclaiming, "She should have been picked for the program." Anyway, that's all I've got. So that's another big milestone, unfortunately, in the space program. All the astronauts and Ys from the Mercury 7 are now gone. In 5BB. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, that is definitely sad news. She was a remarkable lady, and all the astronauts are remarkable people. So, yeah, it's definitely the end of an era to know that all of the Mercury crew and wives are now gone from us, but they will never be forgotten. So this is KF5 PDS, Billy, your net control, for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, do we have any other announcements? If so, please come now with your call sign. Not hearing any, so I'll go ahead with a few announcements of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need EchoLink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 129 and a positive offset. The ARC has several nets on Monday nights. First Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's net. This is a net where you can learn about other people's recipe sharing. You can bring a recipe, or if you have an anecdote about food or a question about food, bring it to the Ham Fixin's net. The second month is MCOM 101 Emergency Communications. For the third month, come back for a second helping of Ham Fixin's net. And the fourth Monday of the month is GeekNet. This net shares all things geeky. Could be anything from news of the weird to brain teaser or any other geeky news. Feel free to bring it to the GeekNet. And for months that have a fifth Monday, we have a fifth Monday surprise net. We've played several rounds of Jeopardy on that, on April Fool's Truth or Lies, Christmas Thunderdome, where we've listed best and worst Christmas presents for the year, and I believe there was a round robin build a short story one time. So there's all kinds of fun things going on. It's always a pleasant surprise on the fifth Monday surprise net. And Saturdays is the night of nets, with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. and Skynet, of course, at 9 p.m. And then at 10:30, after Skynet, we have the Afterglow Movie Net, which will have more information coming up on that net shortly. The ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, is every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and all are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And as I mentioned, following Skynet, we have the Afterglow Movie Net. This is a net where we choose a movie, and then we watch it during the week, and then on the following Afterglow net, we discuss it. So tonight, we'll have Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us tonight's Afterglow info.
All right, thank you. Miss Billy, everybody listen up. Here it is. It's nighttime. The year, June 12th, 2053. It's a Thursday. I looked it up. It is a Thursday. An offshore drilling rig with lots of blinking lights simply explodes. A no vacancy sign blinks as a result. Fast forward to somewhere else in the world. My guess is Cardboard, New York. A man wrestles control of the flying sub from Admiral Harriman Nelson, who was retired 2 years ago, but has been living in the clothes closet on board the famed flying submarine called unimaginably the Flying Sub. The two admirals fought, but Admiral Matthews won, and Admiral Nelson was locked back in the closet, much like his days in junior high school and, of course, on the Seaview. The sub approached the underwater city Triton and docked. He noticed immediately a man with some sort of fin system swimming outside and smoking. Matthews knew he had a disciplinary problem with these people, plus much of the surplus equipment on Triton was from failed government projects like the Alpha Centauri Jupiter 2, Nelson Institute Seaview, and the Project Tick-Tock Time Tunnel, where all the surrounding equipment was whirring away, waiting to explode the moment anyone touched the dangerous equipment. Join us for Irwin Allen's Unknown, and it should stay that way, City Beneath the Sea, an NBC Movie of the Week from 1971, tonight at 10:30 p.m. That's it from me. Back to net control.
Thank you, Tom. You always do such a good job with those write-ups. I always enjoy hearing those. They're so funny. All right, now if you, I'll throw it right back to you, Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll see if we have any additional checks before we move on to our next segment, I would appreciate it. This is KF5TDS to KE5ICX.
Do that. This is KE5ICX. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign, phonetically your name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, I checked everywhere. The coast is clear. Nobody else at the moment. KE5ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So if there's someone on frequency that'd like to give information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, please come now with your call sign.
K5KTX.
K5KTX. Kelly, good evening. What information can you give us tonight about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas?
Thank you, Bill. This is K5KTX standing in for Chaz tonight, who's somewhere west of here on his way home from Big Bend area. And so last night, the Texas Astronomical Society, let me back up a little bit, the Texas Astronomical Society is the local astronomy club in the Dallas area. And we do have meetings on the fourth Friday of every month, except for December and November, which is on the third Friday. Normally these meetings would be held at the University of Texas at Dallas, but of course due to COVID-19 we're meeting virtually on Zoom. So last night we had a really terrific meeting on Zoom. Our speaker was Dr. Amanda Bayless, who is a senior research scientist at the Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio, and she's working on a lot of different projects right now. She's working on an instrument, a camera for the Gemini South Observatory in Chile, and she's also been a team member on the Lucy Ralph detector subsystem, which is going to launch in 2021 as a new spacecraft to study asteroids near near Jupiter. So she had a lot to talk about, and so it was a very fascinating meeting. For the month of August, our speaker is going to be Dr. Joe Pesci. He's going to speak to us about radio astronomy and also a little bit about some recent discoveries in black holes. And he's got a pretty impressive resume. He is currently a program director at the National Science Foundation, Directorate for Mathematical and Physical Sciences, Division of Astronomical Sciences, where he is responsible for most of the U.S. government's ground-based radio astronomy facilities. That would include the National Radio Observatory, ALMA, VLA, and VLBA. He's also a part-time professor at George Mason University and a visiting professor at the University of Colorado in Boulder. So that meeting will be on the fourth Friday of August. And currently we are meeting by Zoom, and due to the limitations of the number of people, you do have to be a member of the club in order to participate in those. So one good reason to join. Another good reason to join the Texas Astronomical Society is that we have a fantastic dark sky facility up in the southeastern part of Oklahoma near Atoka. And we just wrapping up work on a brand new bunkhouse, which is going to be fantastic. It'll be a nice place to stay and replace our old facility that we have there. We do have a number of telescopes on site, and so it's just a great dark sky. Apparently, the site was quite busy over the last couple of weeks with everyone going up to get out of Dallas skies in order to see the comet. Now, we also would normally have observing parties every Saturday night somewhere around Dallas, but of course those have also been put on hold for the time being. The best thing to do is to go to texasastro.org, and you can get all kinds of information. You can read our award-winning newsletter there called The Spectrum and see a lot of other things that are happening, and so it's a great website to go to. And that's all I've got. This is K5KTX.
Kelly, thank you so much for bringing that information to us. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up we have National Space Society activities. So at this time, I will turn the net over to N5BB if you'll give us information about the National Space Society.
Thank you, Billy. This is N5BB. I'm the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. If you're interested in joining this chapter or the National Space Society in general, you can reach me at n5bb@arrl.net. Again, because of COVID-19, we have no in-person meetings or public events scheduled. Our last virtual meeting was 8 days, over a week ago, about 2 weeks ago. So our August meeting will be on the second Sunday of August, August the 9th. It'll be a virtual meeting over WebEx, and I have no idea what the topic will be. The hot things that National Space Society wants to make sure that people know about going on this coming week is the launch of the Perseverance rover. So, the launch window starts this coming Thursday, July the 30th at 6:50 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So 6:50 a.m. Central Daylight Time, the launch window starts there and extends about 2 hours. So it might launch then. But if they have any issues, there's a number of other launch windows up until the middle of August. So for the next couple of weeks, there's a number of other launch windows. But they're going to try to launch it at 6:50 a.m. local time here on Thursday of this coming week. There will be NASA news conferences and other events on the web on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. This is a big deal. The Perseverance rover has got a helicopter attached to its belly, and the helicopter is named Ingenuity. It's a twin-rotor, solar-powered helicopter. It's expected to be the first aircraft to fly on another world. That's all I got in 5BB.
That's going to be so cool to see what footage they can get from that craft. That's going to be super, super cool to see. Of course, it'll take it a while for Perseverance to get there, but yes, you can tune in Thursday to see the launch, and you can go to NASA TV and watch that. And if you have a device like a Roku, you can go to Pluto TV, and they have a NASA live stream channel in Pluto TV. And if you don't have a streaming device, you can go to Pluto TV on your computer and watch it for free. Pluto TV is free television. So you can watch the NASA live stream on that site, or you can just go to NASA TV on your computer and watch these things. It's super cool to be able to do. I also have some information here. The National Space Society of North Texas has a website, nssosnt.org. The National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. Just type in National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access, and you'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. And as Bill mentioned, you can email him for more information as well. So thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. All right, next up is the discussion topic of the evening. So tonight I'm going to talk about the Asthros project. Information from jpl.nasa.gov. NASA mission will study the cosmos with a stratospheric balloon. Work has begun on an ambitious new mission that will carry a cutting-edge 8.4-foot or 2.5-meter telescope high into the stratosphere on a balloon. Tentatively planned to launch in December 2023 from Antarctica, Asthros, which is short for Astrophysics Stratospheric Telescope for high spectral resolution observations at sub-millimeter wavelengths. We'll spend about 3 weeks drifting on air currents above the icy southern continent and achieve several firsts along the way. Managed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Asthros observes far infrared light, or light with wavelengths much longer than what is visible to the human eye. To do that, Asthros will need to reach an altitude of about 130,000 feet, or 24.6 miles, roughly 4 times higher than commercial airliners fly. Though still well below the boundary of space at about 62 miles, it will be high enough to observe light wavelengths blocked by Earth's atmosphere. The mission team recently put the finishing touches on the design for the observatory's payload, which includes its telescope, which captures the light, its instrument, and such subsystems as the cooling and electronic systems. In early August, engineers at JPL will begin integration and testing of those subsystems to verify that they perform as expected. Balloons might seem like antiquated technology, they offer NASA unique advantages over ground or space-based missions. NASA's scientific balloon program has been operating for 30 years at Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. It launches 10 to 15 missions a year from locations around the globe in support of experiments across all of NASA's science disciplines, as well as for technology development and education purposes. Balloon missions don't only have lower costs compared to space missions, they also have shorter times between early planning and deployment, which means they can accept the higher risks associated with using new or state-of-the-art technologies that haven't yet flown in space. These risks may come in the form of unknown technical or operational challenges that can impact mission science output. By working through these challenges, balloon missions can set the stage for future missions to reap the benefits of these new technologies. Balloon missions like Asthros are higher risk than space missions, but yield high rewards at modest cost, said JPL engineer Jose Siles, project manager for Asthros. With Asthros, we're aiming to do astrophysics observations that have never been attempted before. The mission will pave the way for future space missions by testing new technologies and providing training for the next generation of engineers and scientists. Asthros will carry an instrument to measure the motion and speed of gas around newly formed stars. During flight, the mission will study four main targets, including two star-forming regions in the Milky Way galaxy. It will also for the first time detect and map the presence of two specific types of nitrogen ions, which are atoms that have lost some electrons. These nitrogen ions can reveal places where winds from massive stars and supernova explosions have reshaped the gas clouds within these star-forming regions. Process stellar feedback, such violent outbursts can, over millions of years, disperse the surrounding material and impede star formation or halt it altogether. But stellar feedback can also cause material to clump together, accelerating star formation. Without this process, all the available gas and dust in galaxies like our own would have coalesced into stars long ago. Asthros will make the first detailed 3D maps of the density, speed, and motion of gas in these regions to see how the newborn giants influence their placental material. By doing so, the team hopes to gain insight into how stellar feedback works and to provide new information to refine computer simulations of galaxy evolution. Third target for Asthros will be the galaxy Mercury Redstone. Observing signs of stellar feedback there will enable the Asthros team to gain deeper insight into its effects on different types of galaxies. I think it's understood that stellar feedback is the main regulator of star formation throughout the universe's history, so JPL scientists Jose Pineda, principal investigator for Asthros. Computer simulations of galaxy evolution still can't quite replicate the reality that we see out in the cosmos. The nitrogen mapping that we do with Asthros has never been done before, and it will be exciting to see how that information helps make those models more accurate. Finally, as its fourth target, Asthros will observe TW Hydrae, a young star surrounded by a wide disk of dust and gas where planets may be forming. With its unique capabilities, Asthros will measure the total mass of this protoplanetary disk and show how this mass is distributed throughout. These observations could potentially reveal places where the dust is clumping together to form planets. Learning more about protoplanetary disks could help astronomers understand how different types of planets form in the known solar system. Beyond this, Asthros will increase awareness. Instead of studying helium silicon oxide seeds that are 150 meters wide or about the size of a football stadium, a modular beneath the balloon will carry the instrument and the Lively telescope, which consists of an 8.4-foot or 2.5-meter dish antenna, as well as a series of mirrors, lenses, and detectors designed and optimized to capture far infrared light. Thanks to the dense Asthros ties to the largest telescope will fly on a high-altitude balloon. During flight, scientists will be able to precisely control the direction that the telescope points and download the data in real time using satellite links. Because far-infrared instruments need to be kept very cold, many missions carry liquid helium to cool them. Asthros will instead rely on a cryocooler, which uses electricity supplied by Asthros' solar panels to keep the superconductor detectors close to minus 451.3 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 268.5 degrees Celsius, which is a little above absolute zero, the coldest temperature that matter can reach. The cryocooler weighs much less than the large liquid helium container that Asthros would need to keep its instrument cold for the entire mission. That means the payload is considerably lighter, and the mission's lifetime is no longer limited by how much liquid helium is on board. We expect the balloon to complete 2 to 3 loops around the South Pole in about 21 to 28 days, getting our prevailing stratospheric winds. Once the science mission is complete, operators will send flight combination commands that separate the gondola, which is connected to a parachute, from the balloon. The parachute returns the gondola to the ground so that the telescope can be recovered and refurbished to fly again. Moving on to Asthros, the winds of space in the most remote and harsh part of our planet themselves. If you stop to think about it, it's really challenging, which makes it so exciting at the same time. The mission of how penetrant out to the air, JPL manages the Asthros mission to the Astrophysics Division of NASA's Science Mission Direction. JPL is also building the mission payload. The Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Maryland is developing the gondola and pointing systems. The 2.5-meter antenna unit is being built by Meteor and SRL in Lecco, Italy. The payload cryocooler was developed by Lockheed Martin under NASA's Advanced Cryocooler Technology Development Program. NASA's Scientific Balloon Program and its Columbia Science Balloon Facility to provide the balloon and launch services. Asthros is scheduled to launch from the moon station in Antarctica, which is managed by the National Science Foundation through the USDRE program. Other key partners include Arizona State University and the University of Miami. An immediate contact for the Asthros project is Cal Cofield of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. Again, this is information on the jpl.nasa.gov website. There's also a link there for the balloon program, so if you'd like to know more about NASA's balloon program, you can follow that link to learn more. So this is KFI PDS, your net control for the session of the DARC Skynet. All right, at this time, I'll turn it back over to Tom, KE5ICX, to go see if we have additional check-ins, and then you have permission to turn to Kelly to do her segment after the check-in round. So this is
history this week. Back on July the 20th in 1969, of course, after navigating the lunar module Eagle, Americans Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon in the Sea of Tranquility. Armstrong became the first to step onto the lunar surface 6 hours after landing, and Aldrin joined him about 20 minutes later. They spent about 2¼ hours together outside the spacecraft and collected 47.5 pounds of lunar material for return to Earth. They stayed a total of about 21½ hours on the lunar surface. The third crew member, Michael Collins, piloted the command module Columbia alone in lunar orbit while they were on the moon's surface. The astronauts used Eagle's upper stage to lift off from the lunar surface and rejoin Collins in the command module Columbia. They jettisoned Eagle before they performed the maneuvers that blasted them out of lunar orbit on a trajectory back to Earth. They returned to Earth and landed in the Pacific Ocean on July 24th. Also on July the 20th, back in 1976, the Viking One Lander touched down on the surface of Mars. It was the first spacecraft to successfully land and operate on the Red Planet. Viking One was the first of 2 Mars missions launched by NASA in 1975. Both were composed of an orbiter and a lander. Viking One launched on a Titan Centaur launch vehicle on August 20th, 1975, and entered into Martian orbit 10 months later. The lander was originally scheduled to land on the United States bicentennial, July 4th, 1976, but high-resolution pictures of the planned landing site showed it to be full of boulders. A smoother site was chosen, and the Viking One lander separated from the orbiter and landed on July 20th, 1976. While the orbiter continued to image the Martian surface, the lander took surface samples, studied the atmosphere, and searched for signs of life. The data from the 2 Viking missions gave scientists unparalleled information about Mars, though neither lander found conclusive evidence of life. The Viking One lander was renamed the Thomas Much Memorial Station shortly before it lost communication with Earth in 1982. Thomas Much was the leader of the Viking imaging team. Together, the 2 Viking landers took over 1,400 images. On July 21st, 1961, Mercury Redstone 4 launched, which was the second United States human spaceflight. Astronaut Virgil Gus Grissom flew for 15 minutes and 30 seconds while reaching an altitude of 102.8 nautical miles. Grissom made it home safely, but not without a scare. Upon landing, the Liberty Bell 7 had emergency explosive bolts unexpectedly fire and blew the hatch off, causing water to flood the spacecraft. He would be saved by an emergency helicopter in the ocean. The Liberty Bell 7 was recovered in 1999 and is now on display at the Constellation in Hutchinson, Kansas. And if you've never been to that museum, I highly recommend it, even though it's kind of off the beaten path. Also on July the 21st, back in 1966, Gemini 10 splashed down in the ocean after breaking world altitude records for human spaceflight and being the first mission to include 2 spacewalks. With Gemini 10, NASA gained critical experience and knowledge, particularly in the areas of rendezvous, docked maneuvering, extravehicular activity, and controlled re-entry. Aboard the spacecraft were 2 astronauts, John Young, who was the command pilot, and Mike Collins, pilot. Young would go on to fly to the moon twice, commanding the Apollo 16 lunar landing in 1972 and the first space shuttle mission in 1981. Collins, on his second space flight, piloted the command module Columbia and remained in lunar orbit for the Apollo 11 mission. On July 22nd, 1972, Venera 8 landed on Venus, sending back data about its surface for an hour before succumbing to the harsh climate. Venera, the Russian word for Venus, was a series of Soviet space probes developed between 1961 and 1984 to observe Venus and its atmosphere. Venera 4, launched in 1967, became the first human-made object to enter the atmosphere of another planet. Venera 7, launched in 1970, became the first to make a soft landing and to transmit data back to Earth. Venera 8 confirmed the data collected by Venera 7 and also measured the light levels at the surface of Venus, finding them suitable for photography. This led the way for the first images from the surface of Venus, which were taken by Venera 9 on October 22nd, 1975. Venera 9 also included the first craft to orbit Venus. Like the other probes of the Venera series, Venera 8 recorded the extreme climate of Venus, the surface temperature of 470 degrees Celsius, and a pressure 90 times that on Earth limited the operational lifetimes of these probes. However, the probes taught scientists a lot about the second planet from the Sun. On July 23rd, 1999, the Chandra X-ray Observatory was launched aboard the STS-93 Columbia. It was the most powerful X-ray telescope launched up to that time. It was also one of the largest and heaviest payloads ever launched by the Space Shuttle program. Chandra orbits at an altitude of up to 86,500 miles above Earth, allowing for long observations far from the influences of the Earth. The telescope has observed objects from the closest planets and comets to the most distant known quasars. It has imaged the remains of exploded stars, observed the region around the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way, and discovered black holes across the universe. Chandra has also helped make a major advance in the study of dark matter by tracing the separation of dark matter from normal matter in collisions between galaxy clusters. And finally, also on July 23rd, back in 1999, Eileen Collins became the first female commander of this same space shuttle mission that I was talking about, STS-93. And that's all I've got for now. This is K5KTX, and I'll send it back over to Tom to check on some check-ins.
All right, Ms. Billy, and that's exactly what I will do at this point. So that'll give you a break because you get the next segment. You're very popular this evening. This is KE5ICX. I'll take additional check-ins. I'll ask over on Echolink. Let's start with you on Echolink. If you'd like to join us, there's a few new people there. If you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Echolink only. I guess they're just shy. I will take check-ins over air. If you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Wow, what a shy group this evening. Well, okay, we got 26 check-ins, but I bet you we can make at least 30 before it's all said and done. All right, Miss Kelly, you're back up. This is KE5I6 to K5KTX.
All right, well, it's me again. This is Kelly, K5KTX, and I'm going to be substituting for Chaz, KF5JHA, because he's on the road from observing Comet Neowise from the Big Bend area. We call this segment of Skynet, What's Up? I'll also be doing Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. But first, let's get to What's Up? I don't do that quite as well as Chaz does, but okay, he'll be back next week. After a long dry spell for bright comets, we finally have a naked eye comet that is visible in the low northwestern evening sky. Comet Neowise can be seen without optical aid in the northwestern sky after 9:15 p.m. for an hour or so if you are in clear, dark skies. The sun sets at around 8:35 p.m., so start looking for Comet Neowise around 9:30 p.m. with binoculars. SpaceWeather.com has some star maps for the position of the comet that may be helpful. And I have been able to see this comet, I think, 6 times so far. It's been cloudy for the last couple of nights, and so I haven't been able to get out and look at it, but it's been fantastic. So the last time I looked at it, it was just absolutely spectacular. So before it disappears, be sure that you can, if you can get away from the city for a little bit, then even just a pair of binoculars would be great to look at this comet. Chaz tried seeing the comet for a couple of weeks in the morning sky and last week in the evening sky, but was unsuccessful. But from the Big Bend area this week, Chaz has seen the comet easily and taken the pics that you should now be seeing on the video portion of Skynet. If you have seen the comet and would like to make a report right now, please come now with your call sign.
PDS.
KF5 PDS. Billy, go ahead.
Kelly, yes, I've gotten out to see the comet twice now. I went out last weekend, I believe it was either Sunday or Monday, and out where I live, I was up in Denison, just found a nice dark patch next to Farm to Market Road, and a place where I could easily pull my car off to the side and not obstruct a road. And I was able to set up on flat ground behind my car. Took my chair out. I got set up during about 9:15. You know, it was still light out, but the sun was down. And I was able to get set up. Took my DSLR camera. I've got a Canon Rebel T3i set up on a tripod, and took some pictures. Tried different ISOs, different exposures. It seemed like 4 seconds at ISO 800 worked well. So I took some pictures just with varying settings and got some pleasing results, which I posted on Facebook. And it was easily seen with naked eye at that time because it was pretty dark out where I was. So I could see a fuzzy patch in the sky just a little bit down and to the left of the Big Dipper, so it was very easy to find. And then yesterday evening I took my telescope out. I have a Hardin optical 6-inch Sky Hunter telescope. It's a little Dobsonian mounted telescope. And it was harder to find. It was a lot dimmer, but there was a moon out as well, so that made it hard to find at first. But once I found some landmarks, there was a landmark star that was just to the left of the pointers of the Big Dipper. I was able to find it. Once I found that kind of landmark star, it was easier to find, but it was dimmer. I did not see it very easily naked eye at all. What a difference a week makes. It was very faint. I had to look averted vision, just look off to the side of it in order to see the tail, and the tail was very faint. But when I got it in the sights of the telescope, it was kind of a blue-greenish looking fuzzy patch. And again, in the eyepiece, I used a 40 millimeter and a 20 millimeter eyepiece, and when I looked off just off center, you could see a wonderful tail. The tail is really long, so it was really fun to look at. It's definitely worth a look-see even now, even though it's dim. Once you find it, if you have binoculars or a telescope, if you can put some magnification on it, you can get a really good look at it. I also dropped a 9 millimeter eyepiece on it to get really good magnification. So it was definitely fun to watch, hunt for the comet, and it was really great to see that. Get out and see it because it won't be back for 6,800 years. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime shot. So get out and view. It's a lot of fun. So that was my comet hunting experience. I'll return it to you, Kelly. This is KF5 PDS. Back to K5 KTX.
Well, thank you, Billy, for that wonderful report. I did see your pictures on Facebook, and they were really good. They were definitely better than mine. But yes, this is I've probably only seen about 4 comets in my lifetime, and this has definitely been the best one. All right, the moon was new on July 20th, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent, and the moon will be at first quarter on July 27th, and the moon will be full on August the 3rd. On August the 1st, the moon and Jupiter and Saturn will be in conjunction. Since the trio are approximately opposite the sun in the sky, you'll be able to see the group almost all night long. There are 3 meteor showers in July, and all 3 peak on the same night, July 27th through 28th. The Alpha Capricornus may only produce a half dozen meteors per hour. The Southern Delta Aquilids can produce 1 to 2 dozen meteors per hour. And finally, the July Gamma Draconis could produce up to 100 meteors per hour. For details about meteors and meteor showers, visit the American Meteor Society at www.amsmeteors.org or the International Meteor Organization at www.imo.net. This is the end of the What's Up segment, and starts the beginning of Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. My call sign is K5KTX, and this is Skynet. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of a silent key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 constellations out of the 88 total constellations visible in Texas throughout the year, Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we have continued this tradition of a constellation per week. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Serpens, which is a snake. Quoting from Burnham's Celestial Handbook, Serpens is the snake, which is the symbol of the divine healer Asclepius, who became the god of medicine in ancient Greek mythology and who appears in the sky as Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. Serpens is the only star group completely divided into 2 portions, Serpens Caput, the serpent's head, to the west of Ophiuchus, and Serpens Cauda, the serpent's tail, to the east. Alpha Serpentis, or Uno Cahe, means serpent's neck, which marks this star's location in Serpens. The star is an optical triple star with 2 faint visual companions. In an 8-inch scope, the primary star looks yellow-white. Delta Serpentis is in an 8-inch scope at 126 power. The double-star delta splits nicely when the scene settles down. The primary looks white, while the secondary looks yellow-white, but this may be an illusion due to the brightness difference. M5 is a broad globular cluster. When you think of globular clusters, you often think of M13 and Hercules, which Chaz talked about last week. M13 is certainly better known than M5, but Walter Scott Houston pointed out an interesting paradox in his Deep Sky Wonders column. It may come as a surprise to learn that M5 is actually listed as being a tenth of a magnitude brighter, or 5.75 versus 5.86, in the Sky Catalog 2000. Both M13 and M5 are of similar size, too. In fact, M5 is the brightest globular cluster in the northern hemisphere of the sky, and indeed is surpassed by only 2 southern globulars, 47 Tucanae and Omega Centauri. M5 is visible to the naked eye under dark skies in an 8-inch scope. M5 is nicely framed and resolves well at 126 power. M16 is the Eagle Nebula, or the Star Queen Nebula. In spite of its popular name of the Eagle Nebula, M16 is not just a nebula. It also includes its associated open cluster of stars. As you look at M16 in a scope, the cluster is what you notice first. The nebula itself is much harder to make out. My call sign is K5KTX, and this is Skynet. There are several more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Serpens. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 60 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate in about a year. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Serpens. Chaz wants to thank his friends, Dave Hutchison and Dennis Harwell, for their research on the deep sky objects that he has used tonight. We'll take a look at the constellation Ophiuchus, the snake handler, next week. And, I mean, who doesn't like to pronounce Ophiuchus? And I will skip the next part. This is talking about the Texas Astronomical Society. The meeting for the next program, I already covered that earlier in the meeting. And so I'll just skip to the next part. So I want to welcome students from Brookhaven College that are listening and watching Skynet tonight. Students, just a reminder, Chaz wants me to tell you that if you want to get stargazing class credit for this, then remember to fill out the form within the next 48 hours. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, and I certainly don't know as much as Chaz, but I may know the answer to your question. So come now with your call sign if you have a question. All right, not hearing anything, so as Chaz says, so as the moon wanes at the middle of August, so do these words. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. Until next week, keep looking up so you know what's up. This is Kelly, K5KTX, returning the net back to net control.
Thank you, Kelly. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Thanks so much for covering everything, Kelly. We really do appreciate everything you do for our net. All right, next up is space launches for this week. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX. The net is yours.
All right, very good, and thank you. Here we go. This will close out for July. We have on July 24th, 25th, a Long March 4B launching. This is from Taiwan, China. A Chinese Long March 4B rocket will launch the third Zhiyun 3 land survey satellite. That's all they say. They don't tell me anything else about it, but I'm sure it's an Earth resources satellite. Next, on July 28th, an Ariane 5 will launch the Galaxy 30, which is a communications satellite from Kourou, French Guiana. Ariane Space will use an Ariane 5 ECA rocket designated VA-253 to launch Galaxy 30 communications satellite, the second mission extension vehicle satellite servicing spacecraft, and the VSAT-4B broadcasting payload. The Galaxy 30 is owned by Intelsat, will provide video and television broadcast services over the United States. Galaxy 30 also hosts a navigational augmentation payload with the Federal Aviation Administration to support civilian air travel. MUV-2 is the second robotic servicing vehicle for the space logistics and will dock with the Intelsat 1002 communications satellite in geostationary orbit to extend its commercial life. Which essentially is it's going to add a maneuvering system so that it can be moved around in orbit. VSAT-4B will provide direct-to-home 4K and 8K Ultra HD broadcast services over Japan and neighboring regions for the Japanese operator VSAT. Galaxy 30 and MEV-2 were built by Northrop Grumman, and VSAT-4B was manufactured by Maxar. On July 29th, there will be a launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan of the Express 80 and Express 103. A Russian government Proton rocket and Block DM upper stage will launch the Express 80 and 103 communication satellites for the Russian Satellite Communication Company. Express 80 and 103 will provide fixed and mobile communications, digital television and radio broadcasting, high-speed internet access, and data transmission services across Russia. The satellites are built by the ISS Nev in Russia with communication payloads provided by Thales Alenia Space from Europe. On July 30th will be another Mars mission. The Atlas V will launch from SLC-41, Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. United Space Alliance Atlas V rocket will launch NASA's Mars 2020 rover to the Red Planet. After landing in February of 2021, the Mars 2020 rover, named Perseverance, will study Martian geology, search for organic compounds, demonstrate the ability to generate oxygen from atmospheric carbon dioxide, and collect rock samples for return to Earth by a future mission. The rocket will fly in the 541 vehicle configuration with 5-meter fairing, 4 solid rocket boosters, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. And then finally, on July 31st, the Falcon 9 will launch the Starlink 9 Black Sky Global Constellation. It is expected to launch the 10th batch. This is the SpaceX Falcon 9. It is expected to launch the 10th batch of approximately 60 satellites for SpaceX Starlink Broadband Network, a mission designated Starlink 9. 2 Earth observation microsatellites from Black Sky Global, a Seattle-based company, will launch a rideshare payloads on this mission. Move forward from June 24th and delayed from the 22nd, the 25th, and 26th. Scrubbed from due to poor weather, scrubbed on July 11th due to technical issues, delayed from July 29th. Sounds like it's kind of like jinxed. At any rate, maybe it'll launch on July 31st. Who knows? All right, that's all I have. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is KFI-CDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours.
Thank you. This is WB5OZL. This article is entitled New Cosmic Magnetic Field Structures Discovered in Galaxy NGC 4217. Spiral galaxies, such as our Milky Way, can have sprawling magnetic fields. There are various theories about their formation, but so far the process is not well understood. An international research team has now analyzed the magnetic field of the Milky Way-like galaxy, NGC 4217, in detail on the basis of radio astronomical observations, and has discovered as yet unknown magnetic field structures. The data suggests that star formation and star explosions, so-called supernovae, are responsible for the visible structures. The team, led by Dr. Yelena Stein from Ruhr Universitat Bochum, the Center for, I'm not going to pronounce that, published this paper. The analyzed data had been compiled in the project Continuum Halos in nearby galaxies, where radio waves are utilized to measure 35 galaxies. Galaxy NGC 4217 is of particular interest to us, explains Yelena Stein, who began the study at the chair of astronomy at Ruhr, that place. It looks like it's in Germany. NGC 4217 is similar to the Milky Way and is only about 67 million light years away, which means relatively close to it, and the Earth's a major constellation. The researchers therefore hope to successfully transfer some of their findings to our home galaxy. When evaluating the data from NGC 4217, the researchers found several remarkable structures. The galaxy has an X-shaped magnetic field structure, which has also been observed in other galaxies, extending outwards from the galaxy disk namely over 20,000 light years. In addition to the X shape, the team found a helix structure and two large bubble structures, also called superbubbles. The latter originate from places where many massive stars explode as supernovae, but also where stars are formed that emit stellar winds in the process. Researchers therefore suspect a connection between these phenomena. It is fascinating that we discover unexpected phenomena in every galaxy whenever we use radio polarization measurements, points out Dr. Rainer Beck from the MPI for Radio Astronomy in Bonn, one of the authors of the study. Here in NGC 4217, it is huge magnetic gas bubbles and a helix magnetic field that spirals upwards into the galaxy's halo. The analysis, moreover, revealed large loop structures in the magnetic fields along the entire galaxy. This has never been observed before, explains Yelena Stein. We suspect that the structures are caused by star formation because at these points, matter is ejected outward. For their analysis, the researchers combined different methods that enable them to visualize the ordered and chaotic magnetic fields of the galaxy, both along the line of sight and perpendicular to it. The result was a comprehensive image of the structures. To optimize the results, Yelena Stein combined the data evaluated by means of radio astronomy with an image of NGC 4217 that was taken in the visible light range. Visualizing the data was important to me, stresses Stein, because when you think about galaxies, magnetic fields is not the first thing that comes to mind, although they can be gigantic and display unique structures. The image is supposed to shift the magnetic fields more into focus. That's it. This is ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Since we're running a little short on time, we won't cover in detail visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, but I will give you the website where you can go look this up. You can put in your location information and get information what's in orbit and where to look during flyovers. So go to the website www.heavens-above.com. That's www.heavens-above.com. Go to this website to find out what's in orbit and where to look during flyovers. I do have one item. We do a final check-in round. I do have one item that I saw on the NASA Facebook page that I wanted to bring up everybody's attention. Mark your calendar. NASA will be providing live coverage of the return of astronauts Robert Behnken and Douglas Hurley to Earth in SpaceX Dragon's Endeavour spacecraft. They're leave the International Space Station at 7:34 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on August 1st and splash down at 2:42 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on August 2nd. So for us, that would be 6:34 p.m. August 1st and 1:42 p.m. on August 2nd. So you can get more details by going to go.nasa.gov, and you can also find the links to this information on the NASA Facebook page. So again, they're going to be returning, they're going to be leaving the ISS on August 1st and splashing down on August 2nd. So that will be exciting to watch. If you watch their launch, watch them back. So this will be exciting to see. So that was the information I wanted to bring, this brief announcement before we wrap up the net. At this time, I will turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll do a final check-in round and get me this evening's count, I would appreciate it. This is KO5PDS.
Thank you, Ms. Billy. This is KE5ICX. It's your last chance to check in on this net. So please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is K5ANE, Kane in Richardson.
X-Ray 7, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Sean from Denton.
Alright, we picked up two more. We've got K5ANE, that's Kane over in Richardson, and KX7WTF, Sean and Denton over on Echolink. That gives us 25 total check-ins this evening, including net control and alternate net control. So back to you, Billy, from KE5ICX.
Tom, I had a hard time copying that. Was that 2.5er or 2.9er? Please confirm.
That's 2.8. Close. 2.8. KE5ICX.
It sounded like 29 or 25. Sorry about that. All right, so we had 28 hams participating on the air tonight. So thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5TDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:29 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discussing the universe. And remember, after this net, stay tuned for the Afterglow movie net, which will start up in about 5 minutes. So come back for the Afterglow movie net. 7-3, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Billy, and what a great net. You did great. Thank you so much, and good topic this evening as well. This is KE5ICX. We will be back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That gives everybody a chance to take a break, go powder their noses, get some popcorn, and be ready for the Irwin Allen Spectacular City Beneath the Sea from 1971. We'll see you in 5 minutes. This is KE5ICX. All right, everybody, rush back to the radio. The final net of the evening is now upon us. I don't know who is net control. I think it's me. I'm just going to assume it's me unless somebody wants to say, it's me, and raise their hands. Hold your hands close to the microphone so I can see you.
I think Michael should do it. W5TXX.
I think it's Brenda's turn. WT9V.
It's an Irwin Allen movie. Shouldn't it be Tom's turn in 5BB?
Well, he does make a good point because Irwin Allen is my craptacular guy, and yeah, I know all about Irwin Allen films and television. All right, I'll do it. All right, as a circular firing squad, I'll just simply take it. I'm raising my hand and holding it close to the microphone. See it? Okay, so tonight's movie and what we're doing, let me tell you what this is all about. Every week we watch a movie separately or together. Some of us watch it together, some of us watch it separately at a safe distance, sometimes a safe distance from the movie itself. And then we come here on Saturday evening, late at night, so nobody can find us, and discuss the fine film we watched. This week is City Beneath the Sea from 1971. It's an NBC Movie of the Week. You remember those? TV movies that nobody would watch in their right mind, but as long as they're at home and they don't go out in public, they will watch it. This is one of those films. Now, how do you know about the movie ahead of time? Well, it's very simple. You can go to Afterglow Movie, that's 2 words, Afterglow Movie, at the Facebook page and sign up there. We'll make sure you're there and you will see 3 weeks of movies ahead of time. So if you want to binge watch, you can do that, but it will probably cause brain damage. And it will also give links to where the movies are located so you can watch them online. No DVD required, or Blu-ray or any of that stuff. If you don't like Facebook, and a lot of people don't, you can send an email to me, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX at yahoo.com, and say, I want to be part of the Afterglow Movie group, and I will send you a separate email with the same links and information. Maybe even a few extra links if you're nice. So, the net is basically broken up into several parts. The first thing we do is, after I give the synopses, I'm going to take check-ins, and then after that, I will quiz you on what you think about the plot, followed by characterization, followed by special effects and music and other stuff. Usually by that point, we've been 90 minutes into the net or thereabouts, and we're tired. So we usually end in a whimper. So I'm going to go ahead and give the synopses, and then you can check in. So here we go. And this comes from the research group Wiki, and Wiki. City Beneath the Sea is a 1971 adventure science fiction television film and television pilot for a proposed series by Irwin Allen, starring Stuart Whitman and Robert Colbert. It started as conceptual 10-minute demo reel as a means to sell the plot and concept to television studios. The concept was not bought initially, and a few years later, Allen produced a 2-hour telefilm for NBC. The 2-hour movie, again, failed to gain the response necessary to be picked up as a series, but has remained a cult favorite amongst sci-fi and Irwin Allen fans. In the UK, it was shown theatrically in 1972 as 1 hour to Doomsday. It was released on DVD as part of the Warner Archive collection. Yes, actually it was an on-demand DVD, one of those R-DVD things, where there's some 14-year-old kid in his basement, and he gets the letter from Warner Brothers, and then he looks at it, and it says, send 1 DVD of City Beneath the Sea to this address. And he scrawls it out in crayon and then sends it for like $400 to that location. Here's the brief storyline. On June 12th, 2053, a futuristic oil rig explodes somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, which is about the size of a 3x5 tub of water. Retired Admiral Michael Matthews, played by Whitman, is busy in his New York City office administering various engineering projects in different parts of the world. He receives a phone call from the President of the United States, played by Richard Basard. After much debate and against his will, he is reactivated at his old rank as Administrator of Pacifica, an underwater city prone to disaster and death. His escort, Commander Woody Patterson, played by Colbert, arrives. They take off via a flying submarine known as the Flying Sub, stolen from the Seaview for Pacifica. Matthews regrets returning to the city due to a past tragedy that occurred there. Bill died, and apologizes because his return means that Patterson will be forcibly demoted without cause. The two officers discuss And did I mention they discussed the ongoing transfer of gold from Fort Knox to Pacifica? Why the hell anybody do that is anybody's guess. The project that began under Matthew's previous administration 6 months previously and is now nearing completion. The entirety of the United States gold reserve will be secured at Pacifica within 17 days. Why anybody would do that, I don't know. These people are stupid. Oh wait, we'll get to that at some point. Alright, I don't know why it's got two plots. It's got two. There's storyline and another plot. Never mind, I'm not even going to read it because it's not worth it. Oh, it does end and platform is destroyed in flames. So there you go. Spoiler alert. I will now take check-ins. If you would like to join us this evening and discuss this movie, City Beneath the Sea by Irwin Allen, or if you just want to complain about Irwin Allen in general and all of his programming that he's done, he did have the most successful science fiction television series. Are you ready for this? Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. It ran 4 seasons. Star Trek didn't even do that back in the 60s. It ran like 4 minutes. So keep that in mind. He was successful at something, and science fiction was apparently what he did. Okay, let's take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, your location if you dare, and then did you see the film City Beneath the Sea from 1971? Even if you say no, you'll still have an opportunity to complain about the movie. So let's get started. Please come now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving? Yes, I did see this fine film. This is K5ANE, Kane, some altitude above sea level. And yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo 5, Papa Mike November, James, Oklahoma. I saw the movie.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto. I did see this movie.
Whiskey 5, Tango, X-ray, X-ray, Jake and Rowlett, roughly 330 feet above sea level. I saw about 38% of this movie before I had to turn it off.
WT9B in Plano, somewhere. Not sure how far above sea level I am, but I'll probably be swimming after Jake does. And yes, I saw the movie again. I'm shocked that Jake didn't have the stamina to make it all the way through this. WT9B.
Alright, let me get everyone checked in at this point. I've got N5BB, Mr. Bill in Irving, yep, he saw it. K5ANE, Kane, above sea level, he saw it. KE5PM and James in Oklahoma, yeah, he saw it too. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto, yeah, she saw it. W5TXX, Jake in Rowlett, he sort of watched it before his brain shriveled up and died. WT9Z, that's Michael in Plano, he saw it. Additional check-ins, if you saw the movie, please come now. I also see Billy saw it there, so I bet you she saw it. So let me go ahead and get over there, and then I'll go over to Echo-Link. Anyone else would like to admit that they saw this film, please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from, and tell us you saw the movie, with an apology. Okie Okie dokie. No takers on that one. I'll go to Echolink. Echolink, you may check in now. Please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Did you see the movie? Echolink only.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra and Sherman. Yes, I did see it. I ducked out last night during the watch party, which I hated to do because I wanted to go do some comet viewing. But today I went back and started the film over and watched it in its entirety. So yes, I have seen the film.
All right, I picked up Miss Billy, KF5 PDS over in Sherman. Yes, she saw the episode. In fact, she saw the movie, and she saw it kind of more than once, which is kind of tough to do. All right, let's see. Should I do the randomizer? What do you think? Do I go from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top on the list, or should I just randomize? Let me see. Let me think. I'm going to decide. Oh, wait. People are trying to tell me through the thing. Never mind. Comments are quite interesting on the back channels here. All right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to randomize. So listen up, everybody. I'm going to now put numbers everywhere. Here we go. I just put numbers randomly. I didn't even look at where you were in the list. I actually put my hand over it. So here we go. The order is James, KE5PMN, he's first. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda's second. Number 3 is N5BB Bill. Number 4 is K5ANE. Number 5 is W5TXX. Number 6 is KF5PDS. I'll get it right, and number 7 is WT9V Michael, and of course myself. I will finish with my wisdom because that's how this thing works. So we're going to start with James, KE5PMN, followed by Brenda, WB5OZL. So James, go ahead. What did you think about the plot to City Beneath the Sea from KE5ICX?
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James up here in Oklahoma, about 3 miles east of Walters. Let me put it this way, I sat through the movie. I thought the whole thing was kind of too far-fetched to be even realistic. Starting out with that crash into the underwater city, I can understand in space that you can seal off a compartment, put your spacesuit on, get in there and fix it. Well, how do you seal off an underwater compartment when you have water flooding into it? If it's broken, then weld up a new panel on there. That didn't make sense to me. The guy swimming underwater and then getting out and walking in, breathing both underwater and breathing air, well, that doesn't make much sense either, but okay, it's science fiction. Also came out with three plots and maybe an additional subplot or two in the movie. This plot was getting that gold onto the underwater city, which had to protect that unstable N1H1 virus or whatever it was, some type of nuclear substance. Which one threw out the gamma, alpha, or beta particles to protect the other one, I don't know. And they never did say, I guess. One of the gold would shield stuff from becoming active. And then the second plot was the was that
rain coming from outer space, which was disrupting all the weather systems, and if it looked like it was doing that, it would disrupt so much of the infrastructure on the Earth that would become practically unusable, and instead of coming back on immediately after they deflected it, with the guy having all the nuclear missiles to start his own World War III, that didn't make much sense to me. But and then the third plot was the guys with the submarine. How could they cut a hole in the side of the structure underwater and steal all the gold and steal the nuclear material or whatever it was, and not leave a big gap in there and get everything flooded? That didn't really make much sense either. But anyway, it's a science fiction movie, so I guess they sometimes don't make sense. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
Oh man, James, you nailed it, man, right at the beginning. Okay, yeah, all those things might come into play, but it is, but you take a positive approach. You simply say, but it's science fiction. Not much on the science and not much on the fiction, but it is science fiction, as feeble as it might be. All right, next up is Miss Brenda, WB5OZL, and then after her is Bill, N5BBs. But let's start with Brenda, WB5OZL. What did you think of the plot?
WB5OZL. It did have a plot. I'll give you that. Wasn't a very good one. When you see the term science fiction, they usually write together in the same font, and it's the same size. And this one, it ought to be a little bitty lowercase science and a huge billboard fiction, because that's what this was. Little science and a whole lot of fiction. And it wasn't really good fiction. The science in this was just awful. I'm sorry, it was awful. It's just totally unbelievable. The first thing I have a problem with is we're going to move the gold from Fort Knox to this secret undersea base. For what reason? I don't know. Did they study how heavy gold is? Do you know how much gold is in Fort Knox? I looked it up. It's around 9 million pounds. So moving that by ship or by airplane and or whatever, that would be a real challenge. And I didn't understand what this secret substance was that they corralled in the gold Jenga stacks. For some reason, the gold contained this thing. This is just, something they pulled out of the air that makes no sense whatsoever. It did have some good points. You got your conflict. The guy is real sorry he killed his friend, but everybody's still mad at him because you can't say you're sorry for killing somebody. And so there's conflict there. And it followed a logical progression. Things happened in order. They weren't mixed up. So I'll give them that. So I didn't like it that much. It was okay though. I love the flashy lights. That was the best part. All right. Back to the net, WB5OZL.
All right, Miss Brenda, the flashing lights. Well, Erwin was known for flashing lights, and Paul Z, whose last name I can never pronounce, he was the guy credited with finding all the flashing, blinking lights. But we'll get to that point in a little bit. Next up is Bill, N5BB, and he'll be followed by K5ANE. So, Bill, N5BB, your thoughts on the plot? I know you've got a lot of positive things to say about this film because I know you're an Irwin Allen fan from KE5ICX.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. This is N5BB. Well, as James so appropriately pointed out, which plot? Irwin Allen liked to do the same thing they do in soap operas. You have a bunch of plots going on in parallel. And your brother might be evil. Maybe. Who knows? You don't find out till the last reel. But I don't know why, but he just liked to jumble everything up, thinking that all these multiple plot lines and twists and things were better than just good writing. And if they'd stuck to one plot with maybe romantic or some other subplot, that would have been a little understandable. But they had so many plots and subplots. I mean, as James pointed out, they were calling back to their evil base in Geneva. What in the world was going on there? So, just too much plot, too many plots. The other thing about the plot that bothered me greatly was, and he's done this before too, what kind of things does Irwin Allen do? He's got buildings that are burning up. Emergency. He's got submarines under the ocean that are about ready to, everybody's getting ready to die. Emergency. It's nothing but emergencies. It's like it's the alarm is on all the way through the movie. So from the start, excuse me, I'm getting a little excited there. So from the very start, the Admiral is called back on an emergency trip. And then he's got to get the gold moved in really fast. And then he's got to move in the mysterious H-128 really fast. And then they've got, near the end, they've got 1 hour to get everybody off of or 2 hours or something. Everybody's going to be off. And then near the very end, they've got like 10 minutes, and they're kind of looking around at each other rather than doing everything rapidly. I don't know. The sense of time was so compressed. And the reason, of course, is everything had to be done really fast, as it had to fit in a 90-minute made-for-TV movie. N5BB.
Oh, Bill, I've done some research. You're going to be amazed when I do the big reveal. And your jaw will drop. You'll be amazed. You'll be surprised at the information that I will provide about this film. And you'll say, I'm sorry, I take it all back. Or not. Next up is K5ANE. That's Kane. He says he's seen the movie. After Kane is W5TXX Jake. So, Kane, K5ANE, your thoughts on the plot from KE5ICX?
So I have to say, I really like this overall concept in sci-fi of these like undersea bases and things like that. I really like, you know, in the video game BioShock, they have that city Rapture and, you know, Sea Lab and all those kinds of things. I like that concept, and I think it's a neat idea, and it lends to some interesting stuff you can do, and also like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, you know, Captain Nemo and all of his adventures. So this movie had a lot of potential to me, and I was kind of sad that it didn't live up to its potential. I'm still really confused as to exactly what the significance was of the opening scene of that oil platform exploding and falling into the ocean. Maybe I missed something where they explained it, but it seems like that was never explained at all. It was just like, hey, we got this little set, we can blow this thing up, that looks cool. Alright, we'll open with that to catch people's attention. But in the end, it didn't seem to do anything. And it definitely seemed like they just had, you know, multiple stories they're trying to tell all at the same time, and it all just kind of gets jumbled together in a big giant blender, and none of it really comes out very well in the end. If they had stuck with the idea of this whole heist thing, I think that actually could have been a pretty cool movie, but then they had to add in all this, like, oh, there's this weird radioactive material stuff. Like, what? Why is this necessary? I guess they're trying to explain the urgency, give a reason for the urgency, but it just felt really kind of forced on there, and it didn't really need to be there. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, there's this big giant thing from space about to crush everything, and yeah, things just kind of got off the rails as they just kept spinning the plot and trying to find yet another MacGuffin. And to be honest, when you're trying to find more MacGuffins for your movie, you need to fire your writers and just start over again, because something got seriously messed up. Yeah, so in the end, this movie seemed like it had a lot of potential, but ultimately it just fell flat and, you know, was forgettable. This is K5A&E, back to net control.
Okay, Kane, another thumbs down. You will be so sorry when you find out the big reveal. That's okay. Next up is Jake, W5TXX. By the way, Jake, you're in the same position you were even after randomization. So I'm not sure what that means in the scheme of things. But you were number 5 originally, you're number 5 again. So you're right where you need to be. So W5TXX, Jake, you're next, and then after that is Billy, Miss Billy, KF5PDS. So let's start with Jake from KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, our Master Overlord Tom. This is Jake W5TXX. So I had high expectations going into this. Irvin Allen was the creator of one of my all-time favorite sci-fi series, Lost in Space. Even the old, 1960s version was one of my favorite TV shows ever. And, I felt like, maybe this is going to be similar to something like Sequest back in the 80s, that sci-fi underwater series that was really awesome. But alas, it fell far, far short of awesome. I was unable to make it past about 35, 40 minutes. I think I got to, actually it was probably less than that. The plot was all over the place. Like, from the moment the movie, or the TV movie started, it was just too many threads of different crazy things going on, all this, and then the doctor using the blue blood thing, and it just was all over the place. I just couldn't follow it, so I finally just gave up and decided I was going to go watch some decent sci-fi, so I went and watched some Lost in Space. So back to the net, W5TXX, thanks.
disappointed in you. So disappointed. The film had so many complex plots, like in the later Star Wars movies, which are the earlier Star Wars movies somehow, where they have multiple things going on and people blasting each other and special effects and stuff going on, and you can't go for popcorn. Well, this movie had the same thing. Lots of different things going on, and you just couldn't keep up, could you? It's okay. I understand. Next up is Miss Billy, KF5 PDS. She is next, and then about plot, and then after that is Michael, WT9V. But first, Miss Billy, KF5 PDS. I know you'll give a glowing review to this fine film from KE5ICX. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, this movie has a lot of irons in the fire. There's a lot going on. Personally, I do like when it kind of rotates around things, but I don't know, for some reason it just made it seem longer. You know, it's good to have a few things going on so you don't get stuck with just one or two things, but there can be, you know, too much of a good thing. But on the whole, I like the campiness, you know, the Irwin Allen 60s campiness. Like somebody mentioned before, creator of Lost in Space, and also another favorite of mine, the Time Tunnel. That was a big favorite of mine. So when I saw that James Darren was in it, I was just like, oh, great, you know. But he doesn't have a very big part, so I wasn't happy about that. But I will reserve comments like that for characterization for the next round. But yeah, it was plot. There's a lot going on. You have to watch to keep up. I also was a little bit stymied by the destruction of the oil platform, oil rig, and I watched that part twice, and I still didn't see an explanation of it. The only thing I can think of is the story possibly due to the atmospheric effects of the meteor that we don't find out is coming until about 45 minutes later, about halfway through the film, they throw in the meteor. So the only thing I can think of is maybe it was destroyed because of that, but it's like, really? That's enough to knock an oil rig into the water and explode? Yeah, I found the science extremely questionable, especially a meteor going from Pluto to the Earth in 7 hours. No, that is not going to happen unless it is screaming through space so fast, but if it does that, it would disrupt the orbits of the planets as it came by. I mean, it would have such a wake behind it that it would cause other celestial problems. So, yeah, I found that very not believable. Yeah, I wondered about the blue blood thing. They didn't stick with that long enough to really explain that. You just saw a thing with a lot of tubes with a lot of blue liquid in it. It just looked cool, I guess, like the flashing lights, which I also liked. And I liked the big TV console that looked like an actual large, you know, console TV on the wall. I thought that was pretty cool. That was my favorite thing, the video thing. But yeah, there can be too many irons in the fire. Too much of a good thing can cause problems. Yeah, I didn't understand why they moved all the gold down there. Why didn't they just take the explosive stuff to Fort Knox and arrange it there, but now they moved the gold and everything down below the ocean. I, too, thought it looked like Jenga blocks, so that was funny that Brenda said that. Also, it was cool that Fort Knox has a rocket. Didn't expect that. That was actually pretty interesting when they showed the big rocket complex and announced that as Fort Knox. I guess it's Gold Repository and Launch Complex in 2053, so who knows. But yeah, I don't know, to me it was a long hour and a half, and I don't know if it was because there was so much going on. I had to just really, it was kind of a slog. I was enjoying the watch party with all the comments. It makes it more fun, kind of more MST3K-like, but trying to watch it by myself with, you know, I was watching comments went by on the feed, so that at least was better than trying to watch it on television. So did get through it, but towards the end, to me, it dragged, and just I got very meh. I just was, you know, I don't know, they didn't stick with anything long enough for you to really get absorbed in it. By the time you sucked into one plot, they switched to another. So I do wish they had expounded upon the heist a little bit more, as someone else said. I do agree with that. Or stick with the Meteor longer. You know, that also is a good suspenseful device. You know, they could have built suspense with it, sticking with it as it came through, but that doesn't come in until halfway through the movie. The movie's half over before they even throw that in, so it almost seems like an afterthought. So those are my thoughts on it. Sorry, Tom, if I didn't give as glowing a review as you hoped, but as far as, you know, Irwin Allen goes, to me this was kind of a disappointment. So although I like the campiness of it, at least they maximized on the campy factor, which I always enjoy in 60s productions like this. So I will return it to you. This is KFI PDS back to net.
Oh, Miss Billy, I'm so disappointed in you. You had this Irwin Allen production, this fine film, the essence of hardware, everything you can imagine. But all right, that's fine. Okay, next up is, oh, by the way, what we're talking about, and I am KE5ICX, I'm net control for this evening. Tonight's movie is City on the Edge of Forever, no, City Beneath the Sea. City Beneath the Sea. A Irwin Allen story from 1971, an NBC Movie of the Week, an original motion picture, and its grand premiere on NBC, which was Channel 4 in Detroit, and Channel 5 here, I think. Okay, Michael, WT9V, he's next, and then after that I will open it to additional check-ins, and then I will give my comments. WT9V, Michael, your thoughts on the plot, since you did see the movie from KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. And how much do I owe you for putting me almost last? I'm sure there was a bribe involved, but I don't remember what it was. So, plot. Oh, great. There was something I was going to say that you just mentioned, but now I forgot. If I didn't write it down because I had to reach for the microphone. So, plot. This one was about 3 feet wide and 6 feet deep, or 6 feet, well, 6 feet long and 6 feet deep. That's the kind of plot that I had. But I do have a couple of comments. They explained the, quote, core drill, unquote, platform collapse as another effect of the big neutron space thing. They also said that the golden, well, okay, I gotta back up. This one won't be as funny if I don't do the one before it. Foreshadowing, just like Bill Holmes did. Okay, that's something's gonna come from that comment. Let's see. And then, according to my research, H128 is a Scotch brand box sealing tape dispenser. H128. Now we know what all that stuff was that they had to protect. I kind of got lost in the awesomeness of this fine film, and forgot to make other snide comments or notes about snide comments that I wanted to make until I got down to the end, and I was like, who was doing the countdown to impact? It wasn't any of the people in the control room, and everybody else had left. Who was doing that? Who was counting? I mean, they lost communication. Well, y'all get the point. Anyway, so what I was saying was, what I started to say was, they said that the gold and tape dispenser had to be moved because of the earthquakes that were apparently being caused by the space rock, which I think I have more comments in the non-special effects section that are, I think I have more comments about the non-special effects than all the plots. I was amused that, whatever it was hissing and spitting the entire time like it was an angry cat that had just been dunked in water. I give up. Back to you, Tom. WT9V.
Thank you, Michael. You made excellent comments, even though you're disparaging Irwin Allen, the master of disaster. Well, he got that name later, but really should have got it when he was making TV movies and television series. Let's see here. We're at the bottom of the list, except for me, but I will ask if anyone would like to check in. The movie we're talking about is City Beneath the Sea, a 1971 made-for-TV movie by Irwin Allen. Yes, that Irwin Allen, starring a bunch of actors that he had on retainer, apparently, from every television series he'd ever done before. So if you would like to check in, you don't necessarily have to have seen City on the Edge of Forever. No, City Beneath the Sea, but maybe some other Irwin Allen masterpiece. That's fine. You can talk about that. But I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Did you see City? Too scared to check in. I understand the feeling. All right. Let me go ahead and further expand on some of the other comments because it's really true. There are too many plots in this thing. I don't know why we have to have so many plots. I know why we have to have plots because we have stock footage for these plots. Everything you see, which we'll talk about in special effects, was produced before this series was done, before this movie was ever done. From the planetoid thing that was in Time Tunnel to the flying sub thing, and except for the little tiny oil platform thing that blew up like little cardboard. Yeah, that was new. What else? Geez, I don't know. At any rate, so the story is somewhat fragmented. There's a lot of talking with nothing happening over and over and over again. Why do we have the evil brother? I don't know. He's got a nice apartment full of space. That's one of the things you ever notice. Whenever you have a base somewhere, underwater, up in orbit, in deep space, it's like 10,000 times bigger than it ever needs to be. And you got all the pressure from the water and everything that people should have little tiny spaces, but they're huge. They're like the size of a sound stage or something. Now, I mentioned something. You hated the plot. You hated the story. Feel sorry for yourselves because it was done by John Meredith Lucas. Now, you noticed that name flash by on the screen while we were watching the cardboard thing explode. So here's the thing. He was the son of screenwriter Bess Meredith and writer-director Wilford Lucas. Get the name, Meredith Lucas? But there's more. I don't know how this happened, but he's the adopted son of director Michael Curtiz. Yeah, that Michael Curtiz. The one who did, what was that movie with Humphrey Bogart? Yeah. Well, at any rate, but he's known even more for other stuff like Star Trek. He wrote The Changeling, Patterns of Force, the Nazi episode, Elaine of Troyes, that's the Greek episode, That Which Survives, which I can't remember the episode. He also directed The Ultimate Computer, The Enterprise Incident, and other stuff. So this guy has science fiction pedigree. Now what happened was he was probably in a detox center somewhere after finishing with Star Trek, and Irwin Allen called him up and says, for $10 and a hit, I need you to write a script. So he wrote 3 scripts, and Irwin just kind of randomly picked different things out of the script. That's what I think probably happened. I don't know what the hell happened to John Meredith Lucas when he wrote this thing, but it couldn't have been pretty, and it probably had a lot of imaginary little creatures flying across his eyeballs during his detox time. Now, one of the things they mentioned, and I mentioned it in this, is that there was a 10 10-minute preview type thing, and Irwin would typically do these things to pitch a plot rather than just throwing a script at them or doing the little elevator storyline. He would actually put a movie together, usually use heavily done with special effects from previous stuff. He did that with Man from the 25th Century, which was a film that was never made. Another one with James James, yeah, that's the guy from Time Tunnel. He was in the thing. And they're 10 minutes, and they're very quick, and they're kind of like crudish. Lost in Space was a 45-minute pilot, and it has several plots going on in it as well, and those were actually split up and made into several different episodes of the first season of Lost in Space. So it worked fine because you could split it up, add scenes, and it really looked good. But as a 45-minute pilot, it ran just like this thing did. One disaster after another, one emergency after another. So it's very much Irwin Allen. So what happened with John Meredith Lucas and Irwin Allen? Well, I don't know. I think they shoved John Meredith Lucas in a closet somewhere, locked the door, and Irwin just filmed whatever the hell he wanted. That's what I think happened, because it has Irwin Allen's fingerprints all over it. So case closed. He's guilty as charged. All right, well, those are my thoughts on it. Not sure if that made any sense whatsoever, but what do you want? Oh, by the way, even though it was a Warner Brothers production, it was filmed on 20th Century Fox Studios, so just to let you know that. I don't know, maybe Warner Brothers owns the rights to it. 20th Century actually made it, but I think it said Warner Brothers. I don't know. All the studios are all owned by Sony anymore, so it doesn't really matter. All right, we'll go to the top again. This time we're going to talk about the characterization, the characters such as they were in this. We'll go through the same list again. This will be James, KE5PMN, followed by WB50ZL. So James, what did you think about the plot, not the plot, the characterization? Were those people believable or what from KE5ICX?
This is KG5PMN, James. I guess the characters are somewhat believable. I mean, the Admiral seemed to be fairly strong in his lead, and so did the brother playing his part as the bad guy, you know, both with their respective groups, you know, then the blonde girl, she didn't act a typical, a girl, I guess, from that era, you know, just saying yes sir and no sir and bowing down and doing whatever he wanted her to do. Seemed to be fairly strong to me too, demanding to stay and not leave at when she was told. Other than that, everybody else just seemed to kind of go about their thing. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
All right, James. Well, that's okay. I'll cut you some slack because the characters are rather cardboardish, two-dimensional. But let's find out what Miss Brenda has to say, and then after that will be N5DB. So WB50ZL, Miss Brenda, your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX?
This is WB50ZL. Well, it really had some big names in it. I'll grant you that. So they were easy on the eyes and good actors. One thing that to me was glaringly distracting is that everybody had a different uniform. And it's like they just went back to the back room and just pulled out whatever they could find, and there was no thought to it. If it had been coherent, I think it would have added to the overall story. And the ladies in their little outfits, that's the kind of thing I wore in the 70s to go to a bridal shower or something. They just were not appropriate for the setting there. That was a business setting, and they're dressed like that, the little short skirts. And they didn't act a whole lot better. They acted a little bit dingy. Don't know who made the coffee. It was just made, so they didn't tell us. So that's always an important point in the characterization. My favorite character was the Aquaman, the guy that could breathe underwater. He was kind of interesting. They never exactly explained how they pull that off, but you know, it is science fiction, so things are easy in science fiction. Characterization. There was an awful lot of bickering and a lot of talking, too much talking, and too much of this conflict and blaming and finger pointing and so on. To me, it was kind of distracting. All right, that's all I got. WB50ZL.
That was pretty weak. Okay, next is N5BB, that's Bill, and then followed by K5A&E. So, Bill, N5BB, I know you've done some critical analysis of all the characters, so please tell us the interplay between the characters, the complex camaraderie, and the duplicitous nature of all of the characters from KE5ICX.
This is N5BB. Well, you know, we're talking about going to Mars, okay, in the real world. And you think, would you want that crew of misfit people going to Mars? Oh my golly. So the first problem is that they need some rules about you can't have all these relatives working on the same darn place. So the woman that was so mad early on, oh, she was mad. Both of her sons worked there. One of them got killed, and the other one nearly got killed. And she's there working at the same place. What's all about this? And then the admiral's brother, his evil brother, was also working there. What's going on about this? That's not real. That's weird. I took a bunch of notes. I got to say a few additional things about plot that I didn't get to. And also a few more characterization things in here. I guess it's plot. See, Tom, you don't have us talk about science. And we should have a whole section just talking about science. So, who was it? Was it Brenda talking about the fact that, or somebody said it was way too fast to go from Pluto all the way to the Earth. Well, their trip on sending the gold over and the H-128 took 18 minutes from Fort Knox. And they're underwater. So, even with an ICBM, they're out in the Pacific somewhere. I don't understand that. And they said that had to do with the H-128 decaying or something, being unstable after that. So the time from when they moved it out of its safe repository into the rocket and get it all the way over there underwater, and then somehow moved inside into that repository, was all supposed to be within 18 minutes for all of H-128. Again, they were trying to compress things down into a few minutes. I guess it's so the movie would appear to be in real time or something. The saucer, when they fly over there initially, it dives into the water at high speed. I don't think it's going to happen. Even in 2053, not going to happen. Not like that. They call the gold the most valuable metal in the world. Well, right now, gold is not the most valuable metal in the world right now. Plutonium is, or some other things are, but not gold. So, that was silly. Did you know that most of the people were using push-to-talk microphones from 1958, maybe 1968? They were using microphones just push-to-talk on them. And then later on in the movie, they started using these things that look like some kind of modernistic cordless phone or something. But that was kind of goofy. They didn't have any kind of, Siri or Alexa or anything. Anyway, we can talk about special effects later. But I should, this wasn't special effects, so I'd better throw it in here. They said the planetoid was coming in near Pluto, and its mass was 3 million times the mass of Earth. And that's why when it was at Pluto, it could cause earthquakes on the Earth. Bad science. Again, most of the problems with the characterization had to do with too many family members cooped up in a small space. Inside BB.
Too many family members cooped up in the same place. It sounds like what we've been dealing with for months, but I won't go there. But I did already. Very good, Bill. You get kudos on that one. I agree with all your comments. Next, K5A&E, that's Kane. He has comments, and then after that it's W5TXX. So, Kane, K5A&E, your comments on characterization from KE5ICX.
I have to at least appreciate that while the plot was a jumbled, incoherent mess, at least the characters seemed somewhat reasonable, if a little bit flat in their acting style. I like they did a decent job trying to actually create some interesting interpersonal relationship between the different characters and actually give them kind of more of a backstory as to why there's this tension between a bunch of the scientists and that admiral guy. And it overall, I appreciate that they did that, especially since the plot was just all over the place and incoherent, that, we actually had some characters in there that weren't just all over the place and appearing and disappearing, just like the various plot elements. I did like that character that was able to breathe underwater, the head scientist guy. It was a neat character, a neat design of adding in this, transhumanism aspect to the plot as well. It's just kind of sad that it seems like he's the only one that they did that to. That's kind of strange. It would have been cool to see, like, a bunch of workers, working down there that had such modifications as opposed to it being just this one guy that, you know, has fun swimming with sharks or something, you know. Kind of strange. But, oh well. That's really all I feel about the characters. Back to net control. This is K5 A&E.
Alright, Kane, thank you. And if you wanted to see that character, which was Dr. Aguila, in much more detail, all you have to do is watch 9,000 episodes of Man from Atlantis. It's the same guy, different character, fewer vowels in his name. Man from Atlantis, a forgettable series from 1977. Only 13 episodes and 4 television films. Wow. With Patrick, whatever his name is. Yeah, that guy. Patrick something. Duffy. The guy Duffy. McDuffie. Okay, next up is Jake, W5TXX. After that, we have Cat5PDS. So, Jake, you're first. Tell us about characterization from KE5ICX.
Alright, this is W5TXX. So, characters. Yeah, there were some characters. And there were some bad actors, and there was some not so good characters. Speaking of Dr. Aquila, I just happen to be running through, like, the notes from IMDb and stuff, and spoofs and goofs and stuff like that. It seems that Dr. Aquila, at one point, he starts swimming towards the aquafoil that Commander Patterson is in, and his feet can be seen during the movie hitting the surface of the water, which wouldn't have been possible because Pacific was hundreds of feet under the ocean. So, yeah, just thought I'd toss that out there. There's a couple others I'll try to sprinkle them in here for you guys, you know, throughout the rest of the net. But, yeah. Characters, in my opinion, were lacking and not fleshed out in order for you to understand what exactly was the issue with everybody else, the issue with other people. But whatever. Back to the net. W5TXX.
Alright, thank you, Jake. And by the way, that's part of the dive tank from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. If you look more carefully, you can actually see the corners and seams along the bottom of the very square tank. It's in every shot. Now, if you go back and watch this movie, which I doubt you'll ever do, but if you do, that's all you can see is the dive tank. And that happened on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea a lot. They put a lot of seaweed and stuff, but apparently they didn't have enough money to pay for new seaweed, so they didn't even bother to do that. Gotta wonder. All right, Miss Billy, Cat5PDS. I know you have a detailed analysis of these complex characters, and you're about to enlighten us on the deep performances like Richard Basehart as president and Dr. Ziegler, played by Joseph Cotton. At any rate, I don't want to extend this out. And then after you is WT9B. So, Miss Billy, tell us about characterization from KE5ICX.
Yeah, I agree with what others said before. Yeah, having so many people related, working in the same place, they were squabbling. It was family squabbles. Apparently, there was a lot of family tension. But I was thinking, coming back into a pretty hostile work environment, he didn't want to go back. He was ordered by the president to go. So, number one, he didn't want to return, probably because he knew they were blaming him. But I thought it was a little, too polarized. The lady, she hated him for so long because she thought he murdered Bill. But then when it came to light that he didn't, boy, she just flipped like just all of a sudden she couldn't be torn from his side. And, was just this staunchly loyal, going to stay down there till the bitter end, come the end of the city. leaving her children even to stay down there, you know, and I was just like, wow, really? You know, it just, all of a sudden she was just like, whoop, you know, in love with him, I guess. But maybe, I don't know, maybe she was and just was torn because, you know, of the, you know, him supposedly murdering Bill, and, you know, she wanted to love him, but she couldn't because of this obstacle, and then once the obstacle was removed, you know, then she could be in love with him with no guilt, I guess. So maybe she was just guilt-ridden. Yeah, Stuart Whitman, the strong type, you know, the you know, commanding, leading man, yeah, that typical leading man. The president was a pretty needy character. He always needed him to go places. I need you to come to Washington. I need you to go here, and I need you to go back to Pacifica. So, yeah, he just needed him to do a lot of things. So I thought that was just ordering him around all the time. But, yeah, it's just, I didn't pick up on the Robert Wagner being the evil brother. I didn't realize he was his brother. I guess somehow I got zoned out and didn't realize that. But, yeah, the villain always has to wear a mustache. That way you know who the villain is. Who made the coffee? It was probably the last pot that Bill made, and it had probably been sitting around for a while and was pretty stale. So I liked the role reversal in that scene where Whit Bissell pours her the coffee, and then she takes a sip and goes, ugh, because that's usually the other way around. A woman makes the pot of coffee, and the man, you know, expresses displeasure at the taste of the coffee. So I thought that was a pretty fun little role reversal there. But who made it? I bet you Bill did, and it's just been sitting around for so long, people just forgot and just left it there. That's why it tasted so bad. Best character not appearing in this film, it was always Bill who did something, or they compared everybody to Bill. So when Stuart Whitman's character walks to this situation, he's being endlessly compared to Bill and always being reminded about, you know, his being responsible for Bill's death. I was surprised they didn't have a framed photo of Bill on the wall saying, like, Employee of the Year, Bill. It just, you know, is Bill. So for acting by a character that never appears in the film, except in, I guess, the video caption, then we finally get to see what Bill looks like. So Bill does make a cameo in the film. So, I think I made a comment on the watch party, Bill Strikes Again, The Revenge of Bill. He was reaching out beyond the grave for his own divine retribution. But then it came to light that other factors caused the demise of Bill, so the admiral was exonerated. So that was kind of nice to see that, you know, at least, you know, something came to light for him favorably. And then, of course, his renewed faith in being in the city beneath the sea. So, you know, that it did kind of resolve and have a nice, you know, happy ending with the character, you know, some resolution there. But yeah, I liked Aguila. I thought that was a cool character. I loved Man at Fort Atlantis. I was a kid when that show was out, so I thought the swimming style was funny, and so I'm sure that's where they got it with the Aguila character. But yeah, I agree with what was said before. I think it would be cool for him to have had a team of Aquanoids, not just be the sole Aquanoid, you know, because, like, what happens if something happens to him and you don't have somebody, you know, a backup, you don't have another person you can, you know, call into that role. So he was pretty unique, but for a place that size, you think there would have been a team of Aquanoids. Maybe there were in other parts, and he was just the one relevant to this part of the story, and that's why we didn't see more of them. He was the one that was necessary to the film. So, but yeah, I really can't think of anything else to say. So, with that, I'll return it to you, because other things I would say have already been said, so I really don't have anything else new to add. So I'll return it to you. This is KSI PDS, back to net.
Thank you, Miss Billy. And yes, we'll have a moment of silence for Bill, the perfect human there at Triton or Oceana or whatever the heck the name of that place was. All right. Next up is Michael, WT9V. You're going to have to top all of these great comments about characterization. What do you got to say for yourself from KE5ICX?
There's nothing like a little pressure from our glorious leader, Mr. Tom, is there? I didn't actually have anything. I mean, the other bill kind of sapped my will to live, but I'll see if I can't come up with something. Let's see. I thought that the sub-driver, no, the dozer sub-driver guy was kind of weaselly, but I suppose that's to be expected if somebody keeps going around murdering other people as a sideline for money. I was looking, like, who is that guy with the mustache? The brother. Like, I had to go look him up. Like, oh, right, okay. Yeah, I don't know, the characters were shallow. I felt the same way Billy did about the, oh, I hate you, oh, wait, it wasn't your fault, oh, I love you, I love you. Just things, there wasn't any development, there wasn't any depth to any of them. I think Grandpa was my favorite person. WT9D.
Yeah, everyone loves Grandpa, until you have to put him in his room and lock the door, and then turn up the stereo so you can't hear Grandpa. Everything's great until Grandpa gets cranky, and then you gotta put him someplace that he can't be heard or seen. Okay, anyone else like to check in? The movie that we are talking about is City Beneath the Sea. This is a 1971 made-for-TV movie by Irwin Allen. A film that I'm not sure how it got made, but it had 2 or 3 people who watched it on Movie of the Week. Does anybody else want to check in? And you can catch up if you have not seen it. It's okay. You can say nasty things about Irwin Allen. Any additional check-ins, please come out.
November 5, India, Mike Sierra.
JJ is here. JJ, tell us about the film. Did you see it, by the way? Did you see City Beneath the Sea? And if you didn't, that's okay. You can talk about Irwin Allen, my favorite person when it comes to science fiction stuff, right after a whole bunch of other people, but he was good. So, JJ, you got anything to say about City Beneath the Sea or Irwin Allen or 1960s television science fiction? I'm giving you all sorts of leeway from KE5ICX.
Well, yes, I did see this fine film, although admittedly it looked like a made-for-TV movie, which of course it was. And it looked to me like it was made specifically to star and showcase people that our network are going to have on various shows. So therefore, when you see them, oh yeah, that was that guy from the movie, forgetting that that movie really wasn't all that good. So maybe he's not going to be that good in this TV show or what have you. But, you know, that's kind of the way things worked back then. And my only other comment is if you were cast in this movie, you definitely did not want to play a character whose name started with a B. You know, of course, if you did, then you knew you were going to be written off fairly early because you were going to die. This is N5IMS, back to net.
Yeah, very good, JJ. I don't disagree. All right, I have the benefit of being the last one in the group to make a comment on characterization, but I think there's a very basic problem here, and this is true with television shows, although movies are the most dangerous when it comes to this. You've got, for television at that time, you've got some headliners here. You've got some people that are well respected, both in the movie industry and in television. Richard Basehart, for one. Joseph Cotten, certainly. James Darren was popular. Robert Colbert had come off of Time Tunnel. You've got Robert Wagner, who was doing It Takes a Thief. Stuart Whitman been around and done a lot of different movies. So, and Whit Bissell, I mean, who doesn't love Whit Bissell? By the way, Whit Bissell lived to be about 195 years old until he died like yesterday as Professor Holmes, although his role was relatively small. Sugar Ray Robinson, hey, you got a boxer, what more do you want? I mean, all these people are fighting for time in this movie. You got to give them screen time. So, and Robert Wagner. Of course, Robert Wagner, I wouldn't go out on a boat with him if my life depended on it, and it would. But we didn't know that at the time. So it figures he'd be the guy that's trying to take all the money and stuff. So you got all these people. I mean, you got a ton of people in this film who are headliners. And you got to give them some sort of screen time, which means the plot suffers. Oh, we got 3 plots, so I don't know. Most motion pictures, especially if they're 2 hours long, they reduce the number of characters down to, 4 or 5 tops, and you write to those people because you're spending a lot of money on them. Sometimes only 2 characters are your main stars, or a single character, but this had way too many people, and I think that's what it suffered from. Both storyline-wise, because you had to support these additional characters. What is it, 12, 13 characters? That's too many, man. So I think that's why it had all the problems that it did, because they're trying to construct something, some sort of vehicle for these people to act in, and you just can't do it with that many characters. Too many characters. The one thing I will say, if you've ever seen a crossover series, that's where in television you have characters that cross over from one series to another, and your 5 to 7 characters end up intermingling with 5 to 7 other characters. An example of that is the rebooted Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum P.I. They took and had to marry those characters, or the ever-popular Christmas episode of, what was the series? Green Acres. They had, what was the one with the Beverly Hillbillies and somebody else? It just, Petticoat Junction. 10,000 people meandering around on a set. Bad idea. All right, I'm going to go to the top here. Let's see, it's 11:55. We went longer than I expected. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and I'll take your call signs. So if you want to talk about special effects, music, anything you didn't already mention, anything at all that you want to bring, these will be your final comments. I'll take your call signs in order, so anybody who has something they want to say on this route, please come with your call sign now.
WT9V.
IMS.
I think I'm double with JJ, Inside BP.
K580.
KG5 PM in.
All right, here we go. We're about 4 minutes minutes before the repeater decides to go back to normal use, which means you're probably going to have to break up your conversation. The timer will come on, so you may want to break each time you think of a new thought. So I do have WT9V, N5BB. I've got N5IMS, that's right, K5ANE, and KG5PNN. So I'll start with WT9V. Michael, go.
I'm going to take my time so that Bill can time out the repeater after I'm done. So the special effects were terrible. I mean, terrible. Just from the word go, that little cardboard thing that splashed over into the mixing bowl full of water. Just every single thing. I mean, and then Jake, curse him, stole my thing that I noticed, because I noticed the feet splashing at the surface of the water, the pond, whatever, the tank that you mentioned. And I was going to say that, but then Jake stole it because he looked at the IMDb. Curse him, shake's fist. I was impressed, but this was probably the world's first 8-track videotape. I didn't know such things existed. That's really cool. I want one. I used to have one, but it didn't play video. Okay, so here's another thing. Those were just piles of bricks, and they didn't even bother to spray paint them. I've seen the inside of a gold vault. I haven't been in the inside of a gold vault, but I've seen the inside of a gold vault. If you want to see one, just go look on YouTube at periodic videos. The gold video, they go inside the Bank of England gold depository, and it looks nothing like those piles of bricks that were just bricks. Let's see. Oh yeah, it seems to me like Mr. Oh look, I can breathe water would grab some swim fins. It'd be a lot quicker. Or possibly develop webbed feet. I don't know. Let's see. I have to say, all those raised platforms and no handrails were just an industrial accident waiting to happen. It looked pretty, but there would have been people with broken legs and broken necks all over the place. And finally, Tom said Irwin had his fingerprints all over this movie. And that explains why the first copy I found was so fuzzy. It looked like it had been shot through Vaseline. Did I get all the way up to midnight? I'm almost to midnight. Oh, yes, I did. Midnight. WT9V, 73.
Alright, Michael, thank you, I think, except for the Vaseline comment. That maybe, I don't know. Almost, never mind. N5BB, Bill, your comments. It's wide open, man, from KE5ICX.
Okay, Tom, you turned down the music in the background. They were just making it over the radio. This is N5BB. I'm going to go through my notes a final time looking for things I didn't talk about. Stuart Whitman is quite often a little bit of a, I don't know, not exactly frozen face, but sometimes it looks like his emotions are stunted. And I saw that in part of this. He was a little bit stony-faced during a lot of it. And some of the other actors also were just a little devoid of human emotion. The woman who was the communications woman, did you notice she kept pushing the buttons on what looked like a multi-line telephone? I mean, with a bunch of buttons. That was in 2053. That was the state of their communication. It was a multi-line phone, and she had something else that kind of looked like a teletype machine. Didn't look very modern. And did you notice that in the room, sometimes you could see in the other room, there was the computer tape drives. They had reel-to-reel tape drives in there, open-reel tape drives for their data storage. Well, that was still being used in 1970, but 20 years later it was getting pretty obsolete, and it's really obsolete now. Goes along with the push-to-talk microphones. The hospital room, when the guy came in that was outside, they got him in there with the blue stuff. That didn't look like an emergency room. There was nothing in the room except that machine with the blue fluid in it. And did they really look like they were doctors and nurses? It's like, were they suited up? Did they have equipment? No. Related to that, and he talked about no rails. Did you notice no goggles, no safety equipment? Did you notice they're there with all those lasers and everything, sputtering and all the metal? No goggles, no safety equipment, nothing at all. No stands with ropes on them keeping people out of the bad area. No, nothing at all. Let's see, what else? H-128, they said at one point, was fissionable, and it was sputtering and throwing off sparks and pretty much meaningless in there. And then when Robert Wagner falls down into it, it explodes, but it doesn't explode everything. It just makes a little explosion. Man, if this stuff is so, the whole thing would have exploded. Again, for the people who are confused about the plot, the first scene had to do with there were random earthquakes occurring on the Earth at a high rate, and one of those occurred off the Atlantic seaboard, causing that oil platform to collapse. That was the first scene. All this is occurring from a planetoid out around Pluto. Just stupid science. What else? Oh, the planetoid did look stupid, didn't it? Evidently, in another movie, it was green. And in the one where they're small. I'm now forgetting the name of it. But in one of his other TV series, evidently they used the same thing, but it was green rather than red. Didn't look like a neutron ball to me. Good riddance. Good night, in Fabibi.
Alright, thank you, Bill. Now, all good comments. I will move along hastily. N5IMS, JJ, your comments. Go ahead from KE5ICX.
Well, Bill helped explain one of those. I was trying to figure out, what happened on the, obviously, a very bad model of a drilling platform out in the ocean that collapsed. I mean, it was just kind of the big thing in the opening movie, but you never really got any other information on, what it did, why it collapsed or anything. It just didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Plus, it really wasn't that great of a special effect. You could obviously see that it was basically, just a model thrown together, and it just didn't seem to look right. Let me reset. My other comment was on the music. With all the love fest about Bill, they could have at least had the song My Guy Bill being played sometime in the movie. This N5IMS, back to net.
I agree. Thank you, JJ. K5ANE. Kate, your comments. Go ahead.
I thought it was kind of interesting that a lot of the architecture and style of the scenes seemed to really change from area to area. And while it was massively incoherent, I actually liked a lot of the styles of the scenes that they set up. I mean, don't get me wrong, practically all the furniture and everything else screamed 1970s futurism, but overall, I kind of dig that aesthetic from seeing a movie in this time period and whatnot. It really resonated with me. I kind of like it, even though it was kind of terrible. This is K5ANE, back to net control.
All right, Kane. Well, I will make a really quick comment, and that is if you've never seen UFO, or UFO as it was called, it was from 1968, I think. They had inflatable furniture, and it was the future, 1981. All right, KG5PMN, James, your comments. I've got hiccups, I don't know why. James, your comments.
This is KG5PMN. Opening scene when they dived into the water, looked like there was a couple of giant fish in there. And then whenever they opened that door and he looked out at the guy out there doing whatever he was doing underwater, it looked like there was a giant shark. And I thought maybe it started out to be a giant fish story in the beginning, but that didn't turn out to be anything. And whenever he swam up, put that bomb on the submarine, I was thinking, well, how far away is he going to get before it detonates, and what kind of concussion problem is that going to give him? And didn't seem to go anywhere either. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
Very good. Thank you, James. Now, about the style and everything else, you got to remember, this movie was cobbled together using all the special effects, props, and everything from 4 different television series. So I'm going to tell you where some of this stuff came from. The big, huge computer consoles that were against the wall with the blinky, were the Sage 7 computer system used by the U.S. Air Force from IBM. That thing was there. They used those on Time Tunnel. They also had that big screen with the weird oblong thing on it. That was the Time Tunnel front. The doors that opened and closed, that was from the crash doors from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. The city with the weird stuff when they're looking out the big window had all the Jupiter 2s that were used in the series there. There's also the warp core thing, or whatever you want to call it, from Time Tunnel, also appeared in it. The uniforms were redos from Land of the Giants. They just added some rank on them. That's basically what they were. So that had a lot to do with it. The seats that were used, the swivel seats that you saw, actually came from the Land of the Giants. Also, they reappeared in, are you ready for this? Babylon 5. They found a couple of those seats. And then there's a lot of stuff that they picked up at the local Joshua Door store or whatever. He had an uncle in the furniture business, and was added and spread out amongst the thing. So that's why you got this weird conglomeration of stuff. There's plenty more that I could tell you, but I bore the hell out of you, so I'm not going to do it. I already did, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, overall, I thought the film itself was disappointing in that they couldn't really pull it out. And as I mentioned about characterization, maybe they were trying to pull characters that would be typically 7 characters that you would have in a continuing series, and you could tell their stories. just way too many, and most of these people aren't going to come back for a series. Is Sugar Ray Robinson going to come back as a Captain Hunter 5,000 times? I doubt it. So probably bad ideas on all parts. Okay, that's it from me. I'll ask if there are any final comments. Anybody have anything else they want to add or thought? I'll go ahead and take your call sign now, or we'll close it down. Up to you, and I will tell you what the next movie is. Too many questions? Any other comments? Please come with your call sign. All right, good enough. I thought it was a good discussion for a very bad movie. Sometimes it works out that way. All right, everybody. Next week is Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. Quite possibly the best of the entire Star Wars series. It's my favorite. So next week, I'll send the information out. You can check Afterglow Movie, 2 words, over on the Facebook page, or if you'd like to be added to the list and you're not on the list currently, through email, send me an email at Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX @yahoo.com, and I will send you the links and all the important information that you need to know so that you can participate in this net. That includes the rest of you who didn't check in. You're out there. I know you're listening. I can see from your beady eyes through the microphones. So send me an email. All right, 7-3, everybody. See you next week. Be there or be square. Bye-bye. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
KE5ICX and 5BB.
Yes, Phil?
I just want to turn you on to a really weird TV series on PBS. So it's on Channel 13, KERA. Right now, as we speak, the episode 1 of the second series is starting, and you can read about this online. The name of this, it's from Belgium, and it's subtitled, but it's really interesting. And the name of it is Professor T. His name is Jasper Teerlink. So Professor T. So it's a drama series set in Antwerp, Belgium. It's murder mysteries. And Professor T is an eccentric professor at Antwerp University. He's incredibly eccentric. Very self-centered. And he's an advisor to the police. And he's really weird, and he's got methods that don't make any sense at all. But somehow he ends up figuring it all out in the end. Anyway, it is, when I started watching when the first series was on a few months ago, when I started watching it, I was just focused on it because it's so different than anything I've ever seen. Anyway, you might look it up. Professor T. Inside BB.
All right, Bill. I wrote it down. I may switch it on, although I probably don't have much left in my batteries for tonight mentally, but I'll check it out. I put an asterisk after it, and I will watch it. A couple of series that I found were fantastic and different. They were both science fiction series. One of them was called Charlie Jade from about 10 years ago, and it came out of South Africa. It's considered the most complicated television series ever made, and I would agree with that. I love that series. And another one is This Is Not My Life. That one came out of New Zealand also about 10 years ago, a science fiction series in the near future, having to do with kind of a remake of The Prisoner. This guy ends up in a town or village that he cannot escape from, and he doesn't know why he's there, and characters and his family, or people in his family, disappear and they reappear as different people, and they keep telling him that he's crazy. Both of these series are very stylistically great, and they're a challenge to watch because they are rather sophisticated. Maybe one of these days I'll figure out a way. They're available on YouTube now since they're so old, but both series are really good. So I'll check in and see what this Professor T thing is. I'm sure it's good. It's on PBS, which makes it good usually, most of the time.
Well, it's subtitled, and it's from Belgium, but the acting is superb, and this professor is such a weird character. I mean, and the writing is so interesting. You will not be able to predict what happens. Completely unpredictable. It's a crime mystery, but it's completely unpredictable. And his methods are indecipherable and unusual, let's put it that way. So he's like a Holmes, but he is a really eccentric Holmes. He's got his own problems, big problems, mental problems. Anyway, some of the more real interesting TV series I've seen are from other countries, and a few of them get played on PBS. And there are some, I found some really interesting ones. I don't know, have you seen any of the series with John Cleese? Where he is playing, well, he's old, of course, but he's playing a guy across the street that lives kind of across the street from this, or near this woman, and he's trying to get together with her. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it's written just really well. And John Cleese is such a good actor. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. It's too late. In 5BB clear. Good night.
All right, Bill. I'll look for it. There's another series available on Netflix. It's a German series, and so it's between World War I and II, so it's about 1920, 21, something like that, called Babylon Berlin, and it is a mystery story as well, and it's so well done, and the special effects really make it work. You may find that one interesting. I did. I think it's rather fascinating, and some of the there are some dance numbers in it from one of the debauchery clubs in Berlin that are really, really great. Very authentic in their look and feel, so you might want to take a look at that if you got Netflix. I'm going to shut it down too. It's late. 7-3. Good night, everyone. Have a good week and stay out of trouble. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
Well, there's just too many things to look at, Tom. Even though I'm retired, I can't possibly watch that much. I'm also addicted to the reruns from the, mostly from the 70s of the Match Game with Gene Rayburn. And are you related to Gene Rayburn somehow? There's something going on there, Tom, with you and Gene Rayburn. But anyway, once you get looking at addicted to that series, man, it's crazy. Oh boy, those old game shows from the late 60s and then to the 70s with those iconic characters they had on there. And it's like the old Alfred Hitchcock movies. I'm also addicted to those from the late 50s and into the 60s, the black and white ones. And the Perry Mason ones. They're well done. They're great. Some of them, not all of them, are great plots. They're good actors, good top-line actors, actresses, and directed well in great black and white cinematography on many of them. And, sometimes they try to reproduce some of that stuff back now, and it falls dead. I'm really gone now at 5 dB clear.
All right, Bill, we'll be talking all evening. Bye, and thanks. See you later. KE5ICX. Clear again.